Good morning, everyone. Leaving my campsite for a little walk. Not going to do a full hike, but the weather is perfect here for whatever I want to do. I think for the first time in months we got below 70 last night for a low. It might even still be below 70 or close to it. It is peaceful. It's hard to believe that out there in the world there are things going on that are the opposite. And that's kind of what I want to talk about. We're still living in a place, in a time where there are pockets of calm, where you haven't been affected by what the world is doing. This last set of laws that they're passing right now, that the Senate's already approved, the House is guaranteed, and the President said he'd sign it, that's the end of the United States. Because when they've passed similar legislation in other countries in the world, those countries have collapsed. 40% reduction in carbon. We don't have the infrastructure to handle that, period. And they want to get rid of gasoline cars. We don't have the infrastructure to handle it, period. We don't have enough electric cars, and when we do have enough electric cars, they tell you you can't charge them because they don't have power for the area. I'm going to go back this way. Where is it? I'm going to take a shortcut. So when they're ordering people to do things, they're not ordering people to do things for energy conservation. They're destroying our food supply in this country. One of the big goals of the 2030 organization is the reduction in life on this planet. We're getting our two-class systems where we have the rich and the poor and no middle class. That's happening right now, slowly. Spider webs. They're almost out of power out west because of what they've been doing. We saw a few years ago what they were able to stir up in the way of riots and fighting. Chaos. Keep the chaos going. As long as there's chaos, they can get away with their evil deeds. And there are plenty of them. So what else is in this bill? Higher taxes. If you were to take the money from the rich, every dime they've got, of course they're the ones that are controlling all this, so they'd never give it up. But if you could take the money from every billionaire and millionaire on the face of the earth, and only run the government for a few days, that is not the way to do it. And they know it. But by taxing the middle class, you can tax them out of existence. And that's their plan. And to make sure to kick you when you're down, more spider webs. They're hiring 87,000 IRS agents. Why would They need that. They're their enforcement agency. And without a good legal system to protect us from these brown shirts, they will be there to threaten everybody. And it doesn't matter whether you're innocent or guilty. If you don't want to do what they want you to do, you're guilty. They just sent the FBI in to raid the house of the president. Trump, the ex-president. Never been done. They opened up a safe in the house, took out some documents. They claimed they were classified. Maybe they were, maybe they weren't. These guys are so crooked, so absolutely evil crooked, that they could plant stuff. They don't want him running because they know he'd win and he'd stop their overthrow of this world. He'll put us back to where we were before. Prosperity, energy independence. I don't care if you don't like him. It doesn't matter what you think. It's what he did. And a lot of your thinking is because the media is feeding this information to you. And you're gullible to take it in. Now, if I'm not talking to you specifically, that's okay. I think most of my followers and my viewers of this channel are probably okay. But I'm picking up a few occasionally that don't know what I'm talking about. And they're wondering why I'm praising Trump. Well, I'm not praising the man as much as I'm praising his actions. Get across the road here. Goes one of our rangers. Technically, I'm walking on a bike trail now, but that's okay. There's nobody here. School started up in most of the areas, so there's very few people here. There's only one other camper in my camping area. It's going to take a long time for me out here to see the things that the world is doing. Now, they could come in and mandate that we close state parks, and I'm sure that eventually they will. It'd be the federal parks first. Take away the places for people to survive, because they want people to die. If we stop and think about different ways to die, they've been trying this all along. Chaos and fighting in the streets, well, we've had that. And they're good at spurring it up. The only reason it stopped is their proxies stop egging people on. They got what they wanted. They got their January 6th event that they staged, they set up. These people are evil, pure evil, because they're working for the harlot. We'll get to that eventually. Once I get through walking, I'll go back and I'll give you the scriptures. Mystery Babylon. Babylon of ancient has always been here, because we've seen a lot of this stuff for some time. But never before in the history of our world has Satan had so much influence on the world. Why? Because the world is turning against Christians. turning against God. To have grown men in drag dancing in front of a child and getting the child to put dollars in them. That is pure hell. That's Sodom and Gomorrah. We're going to be, as a nation, punished big time for this type of behavior. The United States is not going to be an influence in the world, not because they simply choose not to, but we're going to be punished. Now, are we going to have fire and brimstone come down on us? Come on, spider, get off of me. Caught his web when he was going along for a ride. I decided I better get rid of him. This is an awfully big trail. But like I said, it's designed for bikes. And there hasn't been anybody here. That's why I'm catching all the spider webs. All right. So, where was I? We were talking about what they can do to kill off mankind. You know, rioting, which they can bring back up anytime they want. Pestilence, viruses. COVID was good. It shut the world down and gave the government full power over us. Now they overstepped it. And the only one that stopped them was the Supreme Court, so they're planning on dealing with them shortly. Okay, I see a big green band over there. That must be where the power lines go through. I'm not going that way. So we've had pestilence, and they can bring another one back. Starvation. Food processing plants have been burned in this country. They've gone into farms and confiscated their animals, saying you can't have beef. After the flood, they were told to go out and eat the animals that they had brought over. Not to kill them off, but to survive. As they grew in size and number, they became a food supply for man as they grew in size and number. Noah had to repopulate the earth. It took a little time, but the animals came along and populated the earth probably faster. And they were given to us to eat. In Peter, you can find where they talk about people can eat anything that God made. It has to be holy and good for us. Don't tell people it's not. There is a reason for the Jewish rules of eating. But today especially, they're not needed. And if you want to still be under the law, go ahead and follow them. I prefer to be under grace. So we're going to start seeing people starving to death, even in this country. They're going to be running out of water shortly in a lot of areas, especially out west. The only good thing about Lake Mead drying up is they're finding the bodies that people were thrown into the lake. Probably they're close to Vegas. It's probably those that went against the mob there. They're finding them in barrels. Reminds me of when I worked on Ozark. That's how they disposed of their bodies too. Okay, one of the big things coming up. Why is our fearless leader egging on countries, pissing them off, kicking them, throwing stones at them? I'm being figurative here. But when a country is already at war with another country and you step in and help the other country, technically that puts you at war with that first country. Technically we're at war with Russia. They just haven't been willing to step into it. They probably won't deal with it directly because they've got other people around that want to as well. We're making China mad. Why? There was absolutely no reason for Pelosi to go to Taiwan. None whatsoever. Other than to egg on China. Now, China's huffing and puffing and doing a lot of posturing, but they're not doing any attacking. They know that if they were to go to war, it would be devastating to the country. Because we're still around. They've got to have something planned for dealing with us. We're back in nuclear talks with Iran. That is the biggest joke. The whole world is laughing at the U.S. for their stupidity. But it's not stupidity, it's planned. It appears to be stupidity, which is another way to egg on a country to come and attack you if you appear to be too stupid to know how to defend yourself. And like I said, the IRS hiring all these agents, 87,000 agents. They're going to go out and get every penny they can from the middle class. They're going to steal it in any way they can, and there's no one going to stop them. We live in a world that is collapsing. Now, as Christians, we know that we're completely protected while we're here. And we have our fall feast coming up before the election, so we get a chance to see whether or not that's our ticket out of here. I'm not seeing things bad enough yet. Right through another spider web with a spider on it. It's distracting. You're not seeing me practice my Taekwondo, although I am a black belt. It's just distracting. It's like having gnats or mosquitoes flying around you. It's just distracting. Can't harm you. That's how Satan is. He can't harm you. If you're a Christian, he can't. But he can be distracting. So after a while, you tell him to go away. All right, I'm going to get the scriptures out, and we're going to look at a couple of verses. Who is the harlot? Who is the beast? Initially, the harlot works with the beast, but the beast will eventually kill her off because he doesn't want to share the rule. And the other countries that don't want to cooperate, they're going to be destroyed, or they're going to be put in their place, one or the other. If they decide to go to war with somebody, they're going to pay a price. Okay, let's go back and get the Bible out. I'm done talking. The stuff I talk about now I got to be careful with because it's going to put me right in the middle of the filters if I'm not careful. Because they don't want you being prepared. One of my sites, I'm walking back to the tent right now. One of the sites I follow quite a number of sites. This lady has her and her husband live on a farm, so they tell us what's coming up. And she just said that her seed supplier said that if you want seeds, you better get them now, because their suppliers are telling them they're not going to have them here soon. For those that can be self-sufficient and know how to grow, you're going to have to be saving part of your harvest to collect the seeds, because you're not going to be able to find them anyplace else. They want the world to starve. It's like in Ukraine, who's got all this wheat. Russia won't let the wheat out. 20%. That's not enough. And stuff like that goes bad eventually. If you don't get it out, it will be unusable. But even countries like Russia, who doesn't want to be part of the harlot, they're still making the same things happen, because the devil can influence their mind. I'm telling you all of this stuff so that you continue to pray, stay close to Jesus as much as you can, don't get distracted. Like I said, walking through these spider webs, they're distracting. I didn't stop walking. Just keep going. Shrug it off, brush it off, fall down and get up. Keep moving. There's nothing going to happen that we can't survive with the help of God, with the help of Jesus. The rest of the world, well, they have a problem. And we can tell them about it, but they're not going to listen. Most of them aren't. But they will pay the price for not listening. You either accept God or you will pay a price for it. Because what he's offering is not bad. It's only bad if you're the devil. And so if that's who you're listening to, then God is bad. Okay, let's read some scriptures. Okay, scripture reading time. One of the advantages of being back in my tent is I can have my coffee. Because even though I'm in a tent, I have a coffee maker right there. And I've got a filter on the water, so I have good water coming out of the spigot. God is helping me to be comfortable while I make these videos for you. I get to camp in really cool campsites and have almost all the luxuries of home. Yeah, the walls are thin, but I'm okay. All right. When we were talking about the things going on around us, they're not doing anything new. What they're doing to us right now is the same thing they've done in other countries. It's the same thing that Hitler did. We say they don't teach that in school so that the young people don't know what's going on. They're basically just, Satan's got no creativity because God's done everything. All he can do is copy. God sent his son down here. Well, Satan's going to send his son down here, the Antichrist. And all the things that we're seeing happen, I'm looking at my reflection in my glasses. Let me get this down a little bit. No, I can't. I finally got some new glasses. I like the wireframe ones that I had temporarily, but they weren't strong enough. But they don't hold up out here. So I have to get some that are a little bit stronger so I can carry them around in my pocket and in my backpack, and they hold up better. I only have to wear them for reading. I don't need them for distance. But I can't read without them. And I thought about getting the large letter Bibles, but I'd have to have it so big that it would weigh 50 pounds, so I'll continue doing this. Okay, I'm reading out of John. I'm going to start back in John 8. God, there's so much stuff here. Jesus is doing a lot of talking. I'm going to go back to 31, although we're going to get to 44. Okay. And Jesus said to those Jews who believed him, if you abide in my word, you are my disciples indeed, and you shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. You've heard this before. And then they answered him and said, we are Abraham's descendants and have never been in bondage to anyone. How can you say you will be made free? That is the stupidest comment that I've heard anybody make. They've never been in bondage to anyone. It's just plain lying. The descendants of Abraham have been in bondage a number of times. And they're under the Roman rule right now when Jesus is talking to them. To defend yourself with an outright lie shows how weak you are. Okay. How can you say you will be made free? And in 34, most assuredly I say, whoever commits sin is a slave to sin. And a slave does not abide in the house forever, but a son abides forever. If you sin enough, you won't have the benefits of heaven, not all of them. You may get there, but you're going to wish you hadn't sinned. But it'd be so much better to be adopted, to be the son. Therefore, if the son makes you free, you shall be free indeed. And he continues on to him, I know that you're Abraham's descendants, but you seek to kill me because my word has no place in you. Speak what I have seen with my father, and you do what you have seen with your father, the devil. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and jump to 44. You are of your father, the devil, and the desires of your father you want to do. That's this day and age. He was a murderer from the beginning and does not stand in the truth, because there is no truth in him. When he speaks a lie, he speaks from his own resources. He is so good at it, for he is a liar and the father of it. Because I tell you the truth, you do not believe me. That sounds so much like the world that we're in right now, and it is not bad yet, at least in this country. We've had the good grace of being founded as a Christian nation. There are those liars that will tell you that we weren't, but they're lying. We were founded as a Christian nation, as a nation that would accept other religions, but primarily one that did not have the government telling us what to do and what not to do. They left that behind in England. They left the Roman Catholic Church, the government-owned and controlled church. All right, we're going to look at Revelation 17, because we want to see who's running things. Starting in verse 1. Then one of the 7 angels who had the 7 bowls came and talked to me and saying, "Come here, I will show you the judgment of the great harlot who sits on many waters." Understand that. The great harlot sits on many waters. It is not one country. Yes, the United States is becoming part of it, and is a big part of it right now. It hasn't been converted yet, but they're in the process of doing it. But it sits on many waters. There's a worldwide reset they're doing. Come, I will show you the judgment of the great harlot who sits on many waters, with whom the kings of the earth committed fornication. And the inhabitants of the earth were made drunk with the wine of her fornication. But they're being controlled by the spirit of the harlot. Wine is an acronym for spirit. It can be used for good or for bad. There are spirits out there. We're fighting a spiritual war anyway. So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sitting on a scarlet beast, which was full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. Where can you find that beast? The woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet, and adorned with gold and precious stones and pearls, having all the riches that were stolen from the people, having in her hand a golden cup full of abominations and the filthiness of her fornication. The stories of what they're trying to do to our children is an example of that. And on her forehead a name was written, Mystery, Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and the abominations of the earth. And I saw the woman drunk with the blood of the saints and with the blood of her martyrs of Jesus. When I saw her, I was marveled and amazed. The beast is eventually going to kill her because he doesn't want to share the world, but she's a useful tool. She's getting things done. She's setting the world up for the beast. The beast is, of course, the Antichrist. But he will eventually destroy the harlot with the help of his 10 nations. That's in the future. But how much of the harlot are we going to see? We're seeing her act right now. We're seeing her distort the world, distort the minds of people, influence the world. Our 2030 reset is the harlot's reset. And they want to reduce the population. Did I cover all the things I had on my list? Well, we know that the waters are going to get poisoned at some point in time. So that's going to take out a quarter of the world there. And then there's going to be war and other things coming in to take out a third of what's left. That's about a half total. So the Bible talks about right there. Are they going to get to achieve their full level? I don't know. We know that only a remnant of Israel is going to survive. There's a few million people live in Israel right now. There is disease that we can continue to see. There's one on here I hadn't talked about. They're going to call for the rocks to fall on them, the mountains to collapse and cover them and to kill them and protect them from God. That's suicide. We will have an increase in suicide in these last days. Don't get caught in any of this stuff. This is a trap for the world, not for Christians. She's going to be drunk with the martyrs. Don't be the martyr. Get out of here on the rapture. Get out of here early on. If you drag your feet, can't make up your mind, I don't know why you would. But if you haven't seen enough going on in this world right now to accept Christ, you will. There's plenty of stuff coming. They're slowly starting to blame Christians. Most of them are in the Muslim society, and we have Muslims in our government. The Muslims believe in Jesus, fully believe in him. They're expecting him to come back and lead them to full domination of the world. They believe if they start World War III, that Jesus will come back and help them to win the war and dominate the whole world. That's the lies of Satan. It sounds absurd to a Christian to hear something like that, but they fully believe it. That's why they can have all these martyrs. People are willing to die for this false belief. And the harlot believes they can take over the world too. And Russia and China believe they can take over the world. So we got everybody vying for who's going to take over the world. Who's going to be the first one to step out? Nobody wants to be the first one. Russia actually is the first one with Ukraine. But they don't want Ukraine. They want the Mediterranean. They want Israel and their oil. But Ukraine's in the way, so they're just clearing a path. When the path is clear, the hook will draw them further south. Iran's going to develop the nuke if they haven't already. We're sitting in these stupid talks. But we're helping them. We're giving money to them. We're letting them build their bomb. Why would the United States allow this? Think about it. You guys keep saying that Biden is stupid, and he personally is. I shouldn't have said his name. But he's following orders of the puppeteer, who's happy to create a war any place, especially a nuclear war. Think of the millions they can eliminate on the world with a nuclear war. It will happen because they want to depopulate the earth. I'm going to have to get out. I've held off on doing this because I know that it will probably be filtered. I worry about just what I'm talking about here. I've tried to come up with different names, but our fearless leader covers our fearless leader with all the sarcasm that it deserves. And we're biding our times. But the world is basically already well on the way to the biblical prophecies that we have. The only problem that we have as Christians is, where are we in this timeline? If we're Christians, that's the key. But the timeline is a variable that we can't seem to nail down. We have three philosophies. And I've talked about them before. The preterists who think everything's already happened. We have the pre-trib rapture people who believe that there's a full 7 years of tribulation because of the 7 years of the last week of Daniel. And then there's another variation that's out there that says that maybe we've already seen the first half of the 70th week, in which case all we have is the second half left. Which means that since the first half is not defined as part of the tribulation, it's not. You can't show me any verse that says the first half is part of the tribulation. Only the second half uses the term Great Tribulation. The first half doesn't have anything. So if it's already gone, then all we got to do is start seeing the seals opened up. The riders and the seals. And those are coming. But that means that we might have another year to go. I'm just telling you this. If it's not this, I'm talking to you on the 9th of August. We're still here. We'll have to wait and see what happens later today. Keep in mind, if you're going to use the Jewish holidays, you got to use the Jewish time. I'm in the eastern side of the United States. Israel is 7 hours ahead of us. So by the time it gets night over there, which is the start and end of the days, we'll still be in daylight on this side. So if today gets over with and we're still here, then we got to look for the next feast, and then the next feast, and the next feast. And if it's not this year, next year. But the way we're seeing the world collapse around us, God has got to get us out of here, because there will be, within the next year, there will be a world war, and millions will die. There will be all kinds of other things happening. There will be people starving all around the world. People will be starving in Africa anyway. They always starve in Africa. And their biggest food supply is Ukraine, and that's been cut down. But the United States, who's never had this, is going to have it. They're buying up farmland, the rich people. Bill Gates bought a big chunk of farmland, thousands of acres in the Midwest. The rich are buying farmland. Why? Things are fine the way they were. They can let the farmers keep farming. But they don't want the farmers farming. They want the farmers to not farm. That's another thing that's in this bill. Millions of dollars to the farmers to not grow crops. We already pay them anyway so that they can let the land go fallow every once in a while to restore it. And in times of drought and things like that. But they don't want them to grow. They want people of the United States to starve to death. These are the people that the world elected. Honestly or dishonestly, it doesn't matter. They're in there. And I guarantee you, they will kill every person on the face of the earth before they give up the power that they've currently got. They're not going to give it up. They may come up with an election in 2 years, but I doubt it. Because I doubt they're going to have an election this year. If they can't guarantee that they're going to win this election, they're going to postpone it. Some of the states that they stole the election from the last time won't let them do it again. But they're not going to give up their power. This is Satan running things. The harlot's working for Satan. When the harlot is gone, then you will see the beast and the false prophet. These are the players in the end times. But I don't think we're going to see anything going on. That part where you saw where the harlot was riding the beast, we're not supposed to see the beast. So we've got to be out of here, which means as close as we're getting to the end of things, we have to get out of here. That's our good news. But until we do, look out for yourself and your family. Pray for your family if they're not saved. I had someone ask me to pray for their family today, and I'm doing that. As a minimum, we need to be planting seeds. If what they're seeing isn't enough, that's because this country has been blessed most of its life. But we've committed enough atrocities lately that we have punishment coming. So hopefully we get out of here before that starts. But that punishment that we're going to get and that the world's going to get is going to be the last bit that's going to be needed to save the last few. There will be people saved, once chaos starts, once the rapture happens and the people that are left, there are going to be people whose names are in the book of life that are left. They couldn't make up their mind. They're going to see the full-blown book of Revelation opened up and poured out on the earth. They're going to go ahead and make that decision. And they're going to pray to God to save them from whatever's coming. Some are going to have their blood spilled. The harlot's going to demand it. The beast will demand it too. But they're going to, the advantage, if this is an advantage, of them wanting to kill all of us, is that there's going to be so much terror on the world going on that they're going to be preoccupied. Once the wrath of God starts, and that's after the abomination of desolation, but once the wrath of God starts, they're going to be preoccupied trying to stay alive. That's the good news for those that are worried about being martyred. I wish we could find a safe place. I don't know if we can watch from heaven. I really don't. I wish we could, because then we could help pray for people down here that need it. We can see people that are sitting on the fence, and we can pray for them to get them to move right over to the Christian side. I hope we can. I don't know if we can, though. And if we can, I almost wish I could stay down here in a bubble and watch. Because all these amazing things are going to happen to this planet. We watch movies about this type of stuff. And they're movies about the earth, you know. Volcano. An interesting movie. And Heck just is barely surviving after a car crash. She was in that movie. Tommy Lee Jones. Fun movie. We like seeing destruction if it's in a controlled environment of a theater. Earthquake, another movie about the things that are going to happen on this earth. Charlton Heston in that one. So we like seeing stuff like that. And The Rock was just in one where they destroyed LA. LA gets destroyed a lot. Guess that's because it was the home of the harlot. It was okay for a little while when I came here to Georgia, but I'm afraid now it's going back to the harlot again. So I haven't worked in a month. I don't know if I will. I won't be part of that anymore. Besides, I'm enjoying this and I'm working. And God pays me. And you're good enough to help out every once in a while. I've still got some fundraising I'm still trying to do. I don't like talking about it, and you know I don't like talking about it. So help me get to these limits, and then I can stop talking about it. Just a little bit from everybody, and I won't have to ask anymore. But I'm not working. So I'm living totally on my retirement. But I'm living in a tent. I've got enough to survive on. Hopefully you do too. But we don't have to survive long. But it's either this fall, or we may have to wait till next year. We've already seen the spring festivals fulfilled. It's the fall ones we're waiting on. So if it's not this fall, it'd have to be next fall. It'd have to be a year later. I don't like the way the world's going, and I don't want to be here another year. Don't pray that it ends, because you're praying that people will be left on their own on a world without Christian support. That's not good for them. Pray that God will protect us all the way through until we're taken out of here. I've been protected all this time. And you can be too. Just trust in Jesus, and He'll protect you. If you're not trusting in Him, then you're going to be afraid, and that is never God's plan. It says don't be afraid so many times in the Bible. So don't be stupid. Don't go climb on a train track and sit there and say, okay, I challenge the devil to kill me. That's not the way to do it. The devil told Jesus to throw himself off the cliff, and he says, I'm not going to tempt the Lord. So don't do that, but look around. He's given every one of us a brain, and they're all different. You see the world different than I do, and I see the world different than you do, but it's still there. And just because we're looking at the elephant from each side doesn't mean it's not an elephant. The elephant in the room right now is the harlot, and we can all see what she's doing. Sodom and Gomorrah paid a price for their behavior. And we just split the video. We're going to pay a price. I suspect somebody's going to attack us. It might be a nuke. We see nuke talked about so much. And I've talked about it in the past. It says about when Damascus is destroyed, no one will live there again. There's the western side of Iran, Edom, who will be destroyed, and no one will live there again. That sounds like a nuke to me. Are we going to be here for it? I don't know. Because we're being raptured quickly to the clouds, I have to assume that whatever's going to happen is going to happen on earth. That's going to be bad enough for us to be snatched away. Sounds like a bomb. Maybe, maybe not. Trust in the Lord. You cannot function without trusting Him. Pray, it says without ceasing, but you should have your formal pray time, quiet pray time. I have mine in the morning, and I have it in the evening before I go to bed, and then I talk to God all day long. I don't come up with my lessons. I'm not going on the internet and pulling lessons down. I'm saying, God, give me something to talk about today. And I have to admit that I am surprised at how God has managed to get my brain open up and long enough to put messages in every day. When I first started doing this, I didn't think we had much time. Our rapture predictors were giving us a month, so I figured I'll do this for a month. I'm still going, and God is still providing me with things to talk about. He is good, and He will take care of those and help those who are obedient. You just have to accept, tell God, give me something to do, and then when He does, do it. And the more you do, the more He will entrust you with. We have the parable of the talents. You don't have to start off big. He didn't criticize the ones that just barely invested the talents. They did what they were supposed to do. The ones that did more, got more. It's not a one-time thing. This is continual. Whatever God wants you to do, whatever your gift is, and you've all got a gift. Every one of you have a gift. Use that gift to its fullest. In order for me to do mine at my fullest, He had me come out here and camp so that I wouldn't be distracted. I got distracted a couple times recently, and He doesn't want me to do that anymore. That in itself tells me that we don't have a lot of time. Good coffee, but I'm out of my pumpkin coffee. I love pumpkin flavor. And this year when we get pumpkins and we harvest them, I don't do this for Halloween, because that's Satan's day. But what I do them for is because they cook up really well, and they have lots of seeds inside. And you clean the seeds dry them out. Don't cook them, dry them out and store them, and you can plant them and you can grow pumpkins. They're a good staple. They're good to eat. You can put them in pie, you can cook them as a vegetable. They come out all over the place. People cut them up, make jack-o'-lanterns out of them. Nope, they're food, and we're going to be wanting them for food here shortly. But when you get them, if you get a number of them, which you should, save the seeds. You can grow them. Go online and look up a video how to grow pumpkins. How to grow anything, it doesn't matter. Everything will grow if it's taken care of right. Put it in the right soil and it'll grow, and water it. But you can also cook them up. Cook them in the oven. Don't, put them all into seeds. You don't need that many. There's quite a few in each pumpkin. But cook them up and they make a really good, they're like sunflower seeds. You eat the shell too. It's very good. You can cook them up, you can pop them open and eat just the seed. But I like eating the shells. They're hard to chew away, so eventually I'll spit out what's left, but they're very, very tasty. Survival tip, pumpkins, as we get into fall. Now, I don't know if we're going to have another fall to have them for, but still, to keep the seeds, cook some, keep some for next year. You thank me if we're still here. All right. I'm going to go to the market in a couple of days again. Every time I go, the price is up. One of the things that I've got to also tell you about, and it's something that one of my prepping friends mentioned to his audience. It's important that you keep eating, obviously, during this time when things are getting scarce. But the quality of the food is going down. Remember, they want us to starve to death. They don't want us to be healthy. If you die of a disease, they're happy too. Try to keep eating healthy. The dollar store is a good place to get cheap food, but the quality is not there. The dollar store does not have, at least the ones that I go to, and I do go to them because they're the closest to where I camp. I also drive into town once in a while, maybe once a week, to get produce, which they don't have at the dollar store. And meats, they don't have meats. Meats are going to get to be too expensive. So get them now while you can, and just know that everything's going to keep going up in price. Supply and demand, they know how our system works. Until they destroy it, they're going to use it against us. By making things scarce, they're going to drive the price up. Pretty soon you won't be able to afford meat. So while you can, get it. I don't eat a lot of beef because it's hard for me to digest at my age, but I do eat a lot of chicken and fish. Be careful. The price is going to get out of hand. If you've got a freezer, fill it up, but have a backup plan. If you haven't got a backup generator or battery supplies to run your freezers, it's going to go to waste because they're going to turn the power off eventually. They want you to starve. This is the evil that's out there. God will keep a bubble around us. If you stay next to him, you'll be okay. But he's also given us the insight to prepare. All right. That's all I've got. I'm back into a site where I don't have good internet, so I got to see if I can get this uploaded today. Be safe. Don't be afraid of what's happening around us. It's going to continue to get worse. Stay next to Christ and thank him daily for taking care of you. Until we meet in the clouds.